Argument on Radio Biafra with Mazi IKechukwu Onnuoha. Bring your argument and we've got the solution. Constructive argument. We hit below the belt. Radio Biafra. We've got you covered. This is Constructive Argument on Radio Biafra with Mazi IKechukwu Onnuoha. Bring your argument and we've got the solution. Constructive Argument. We hit below the belt. Radio Biafra. We've got you covered. All right, good evening, great Biafrans and wonderful people. Without wasting any time, of course, we are running absolutely late this evening because of circumstances beyond our control. But we are proceeding right away without wasting time. My name's Mazi IKechukwu and this is Radio Biafra. Hello, Motherland in the evening. And of course, it is Constructive Argument once again. And today we are talking history as always. Talking Biafran history, and with me this evening is our able doctor, Justice Ukachi, Lois. He will continue. Today is part 4, and what are we talking about? We are talking the journey to the declaration of Biafra, and that is where we are today on part 4 of our history as a people. And I'm trying to see if I can connect Mazi, or rather Dr. Justice Ukachi Lois, so that he can take it away because our time is running off. My goodness me, I don't know. I'm trying to call him, and then of course I think he is getting through. The call is ringing. We have no more time to waste. We need to go. Once again, I welcome you. Of course, it is indeed a great and good evening. And today, of course, the 26th day of August 2022, the year of our Lord. And the time standing here is 12 minutes past the top of the hour, 7 p.m. in the evening here in Johannesburg. And if you are in Biafra land, it should be the same minutes past the top of the hour, 6 p.m. and we are proceeding. Father, we thank you, we bless you, we give you all the glory. We have come once again to do the needful. We have come to restore Biafra, and we pray as we preach this gospel, let the kingdom of God be restored on this planet they call earth, and that kingdom is Biafra. We pray, Lord of God, for unconditional release of our leader Mazi Kanu. This and more we pray in the name of Chukwu Kikabiama. He say, all right, let's get straight to it. Once again, it is a good evening, and it is Constructive Argument. Mazi IKechukwu Onnuoha. This is Constructive Argument on Radio Biafra with Mazi IKechukwu Onnuoha. Bring your argument, and we've got the solution. Constructive Argument. We hit below the belt. Radio Biafra. We've got you covered. All right, today we are talking History 101, Part 4, the journey to the declaration of the sovereign state of Biafra. That is the history for some of you who don't know that Biafra was once a nation and will still be a nation again. You must listen. Get out your pen, get out your paper. I've got mine ready. Let us listen to the good doctor and know what he has to tell us. Good evening, doctor. I don't know if you can hear me, Mazi. Good evening from here. Mazi, can you hear me?
Hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I'm saying greetings, everybody. Good evening from here, all lovers of freedom, all Biafrans. And this is dedicated to our leader with all his courageous fight to restore Biafra. Our duty is to explain to people why Biafra was declared in the first place. So without further ado, this is part 4. I'll say, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. I'll go straight into it because I'm not sure how long I've got.
Yes, Mazi, time is always the enemy. Let's do 15 minutes. Let's do 50 minutes. If we will go above that, I will let you know. But for now, I am short of 15 minutes. Let's take it away. My pens are out. My paper is ready. And I believe Biafrans all over the world is ready too. Doctor, let's do this.
Greetings. It's from part 4, because the last part we were talking about the killing fields. We mentioned Katsina. We mentioned Kaduna. Today we're going to briefly mention Kanji Dam and Kanu. The reason I'm talking about the killings in the north, because it was the actual killings that triggered the declaration of Biafra, because there was no trust for anywhere in Nigeria where the people of Eastern origin could safely call their own without being killed. And if we fail to understand that history, then it's difficult to understand why Biafra was declared. The people will have a different narrative and blame us for being killed. So let me go straight into it. So the reason why I'm going on about it is because it was documented. It's not hearsay. It's not what my relative told me. This was a government-led instruction to be written down in front of a high court judge, Justice Onnuoha's tribunal. They recorded the survivors' tale of what happened to them. It took them 49 days. They had evidence from 253 survivors. They exhibited 498 exhibits. They traveled from Enugu, Onitsha, Aba, Port Harcourt, Calabar, Oyo, Ogoja, gathering evidence and detailing and recording them. So no one would turn around and say, this thing didn't happen. This was before we went into Biafran War. So, without further ado, and I urge you all to read it. It's called The Massacre of Ndibo, 1966. So one day it is my hope that every school child, at least in the Biafran setting, would have read it, understood it. So there'll be no more lies about what happened to us. Let me talk about the 4 Ks. I mentioned Kaduna, Katsina. Today's turn is Kanji Dam. Now, where's Kanji Dam? Kanji Dam is around Ilorin, where the Italian firm called Impreglio, SPA, was building a dam for Nigeria to generate electricity. We're still waiting for the electricity in Nigeria. Anyway, so that was back in the 60s. They employed about 6,000 Easterners at this Kanji Dam construction. This was one of the sites of the worst slaughters for people of Eastern origin. This is what happened. It was a combined operation between the police and the civilians. The most important witness was somebody called Clement Obiefuna, who recorded what happened to the situation. So it's not a hearsay, an eyewitness. On the 29th and 30th of September, there was mass killing, which has continued to the worst of them to be in Kanji Dam police station, in front of police station. And this is what happened. A police van was fitted with a loudspeaker. It went round the town, informing any Easterner who wishes to go back to the east to assemble at the police station in order that the necessary arrangement could be made for them to be evacuated. This piece of news, of course, spread, was received with joy for all those of us, according to him, this witness, who wanted to escape. They thought this gesture was, in fact, made in good faith. It was otherwise, as their subsequent experience was to show, was the opposite. So when the remaining Easterners they haven't killed have heard about there will be a possibility of them being evacuated, so they assembled at the police station with all their loads and they sat down waiting for further instructions for their repatriation. Little did they know that they had come to face their death. So it was, in fact, an appointment with death, according to him, for the next moment. What happened then? A group of unruly Hausas, that's general term for those in the north, appeared once more with their death weapons, chanting war songs, grinning at us, and positioning themselves strategically around the building. After a time, the policemen arrived in great numbers, and they asked us whether we were now ready to go back to the region, to our region. Of course, we joyfully answered yes. Then one of the house's civilians stepped out, mockingly asked us if there was anything we could do if he began to shoot at us. Now, before he had time to answer this question, he had already let go of his Dane gun in our midst. So therefore, a frantic scramble to escape ensued. The police participated in the killing of many of us. During this shooting, I lost a relative, Mr. Ralph Nwa-BC, who was aged 26, a motor driver with Impreglio FEA Kanji. The looting of our property started simultaneously with the killing. From a corner where I was, I could see the police helping the civilians to make away with our property. All my properties were carried. So it's not enough to state all this. This person now had to be cross-examined in front of a judge. And the question is, this massacre at the police station, Ganji Dam, what date would that be? He said on the night of the 29th September. Remember, back in Lagos, they were having a meeting after the July killings to have a discussion on how to move Nigeria forward. There was a meeting going on, and then the killing broke out again in September. Okay, so this was the background. Now, around that time, the thing then in the court was, at what time? He said around 9 o'clock and 10 p.m. when the whole thing started and continued. The next question was, would it be correct to say that Easterners were tricked into assembling at the Ganji Dam police station to enable them to massacre you? The answer was yes. And then he was asked again, and the trick was practiced by, he said, well, it was performed by police. The question, you, law-abiding citizen, trusted the police as your protectors? The answer is yes. Would it be correct to say that were it not for the practice on you by the police, perhaps these vandals might not have had the opportunity to slaughter you as they did? They say they might not have had the opportunity to slaughter Easterners en masse. That's true. Now, immediately before the attack on the 29th, how many Easterners will you estimate gathered at the police station? Or you said very many. Give me an idea. Said about 2,000. Now, during the lengthy cross-examination that followed, the witness gave further details of the police civilian formation and preparation for the attack. Let me cut this story long, which is a bit long, short. Basically, these people brought in new, fresh police officers from a different region in Nigeria to surround the police station and remove the ones they were familiar with, and they were used in addition with mob to kill the people. They went around asking, assemble at the police station if they want to get back to the eastern region. So that's one of the repulsive bits of the killing of the eastern. They were lured into the traps, okay? And so it's not the first time they've done that trick. In Kanu, which we're going to look at shortly, they use the same trick because they say, oh, the train will be leaving such and such a date, so you all gather, and the act made it easier for them to slaughter many more, okay? So that's the trick was being used, and the tribunal uncovered this. So the next, I'm going to move now to Kanu at the time. Kanu, as you know, is it's a very, very busy ancient city in the north. It has a national airport. Okay? So This one was witness called Okpawa, beg your pardon, P.I. Okpawa. Is witness number 125. So what happened to him? He said, I was shot from the back. They raised the occiput, which is the back of your head, back of your skull. And he fell down and lost consciousness for a time. Had that bullet gone a little deeper, his brain would have been, of course, blown out, and he would have died on the spot. On the other hand, had the wound been a shade slight or less, then he would have lived, and he would not have lost consciousness, and of course the army would have come and shot him like other people. So this is the part of the story which he told us that happened to him in Kanu. He said, one soldier ordered us outside and asked me, this was in the actual airport when they appeared. The other story was that all the big wigs, they came with their white agbada, all the politicians, Manda's clip of the bit of the film they're allowed to show. There was an attack inside an airport terminal, an international airport. The police arrived, the army arrived, and they say, where are the young? And they start shooting, hitting people. So this is a scene from that. Okay, the plane had just arrived from London, parked in Kanu. People are just coming out, disembarking at Kanu. If you're from the eastern region, they lined you up and shot you. They're from abroad. So this is a report of what happened in Kanu. And the people doing the killing are Nigeria's best. In other words, they went to Congo to represent Nigeria, the United Nations force. You have to keep peace in Kanu, in Congo. So they are the police. They are the actual elite of the Nigerian army, if you like, in Kanu. It was actually commanded by Chukwemeka Dumegwu. Yeah, it's a battalion. So where he was, of course, at this stage in the eastern region as a governor, eastern region. So what was left of the Nigerian army in Kanu joined the troops, joined the civilians in massacring ordinary civilians. They burst into the airport, and this is what happened. So one soldier ordered us out and asked me where I was from. When I told him I was from Midwesterner, he told me that I was lying because he knew where I came from. What I heard was a bad turn, quick march. I heard a shot behind me, and I fell down and passed out. How long I was there before I came round, I could not tell. But when I became conscious, a heap of dead bodies, men, were on top of me. Some still breathing, the others stone dead. It took me some time to extricate myself from the dead bodies heaped upon me. I crept over other dead bodies, and I tried to hide because soldiers were still shooting people down in the hiding places in the airport. Presently, I found myself in a big kitchen, and the whole length of the breadth of that was littered with dead bodies. 2 HAUSA stewards in the kitchen refused me entry until I paid them £5. And within seconds of my entry, about 5 armed northern soldiers entered the kitchen, shouting, "Are there any more Opera brothers left to be shot?" Opera, of course, was Dr. Michael Opera, who was the premier of the Eastern region. He wasn't killed in the first coup of January 1966. He was the governor of the Eastern region, and at this stage, the Northerners hate him because he did not agree with the census when they did the census, I believe in 1963 or so. And he said it was inflated and it cannot hold. So they hated him as a result of it. And everybody from the East, they were suspecting them because they wanted the Northerners to give the impression that they have more population than everybody else. But that's a different story. So they hate the Opera brothers. If you're an Opera brother, it means you're from the Eastern region. So they will go around literally hunting them down and shooting them. So he said, "Are there any Opera brothers left to be shot?" Okay, I was again saved because I lay among the dead and pretended to be dead also. So when I could no longer hold out, I got up and walked to the table where one of the stewards was sitting. I shouted, please take me to the soldiers. At this stage, I was getting fed up. So he said, I can no longer stand this strain. Now, somebody emerged from under the big table on hearing me. It was Mr. Lekiti. Mr. Lekiti is a Ghanaian who apparently was hiding from the savage soldiers. He decided to give ourselves up to the soldiers. He was my uncle, and I was his nephew. That was the plan. This strategy worked wonderfully. And when the soldiers heard of us, they shouted in unison, why were you hiding? They said, we don't want to be killed. We don't want to kill Ghanaians. So why are you hiding? They are our friends. Yorubas, Efiks, all are our friends. We are after Opara's brothers. So they're specific. If you're wondering about the definition of genocide, you would normally target a specific ethnic group. So this is an example of it, soldiers themselves declaring that they're after Opara's brothers. Now, we are going to finish them off, he said. They took us upstairs where we saw more dead bodies, some of whom I recognized. Now, Mr. Lekiti and myself gave the soldiers £10 for drink. They drank until 6:30 a.m. the following morning. This happened at night, which was the 2nd of October. The reason why they trapped so many people was the 1st of October, which is an Independence Day, which is a celebration, like a holiday. So people are returning and traveling. So the airport was full of those who are arriving, those who are departing. So they pounced on all the people of the Eastern origin or Opara brothers. Now, these soldiers had some harsh things to say about Opara and Igbos. Opara was their arch enemy, who must be destroyed. Why did they kill our leaders while Opara, Zik, Osadebe were left out? If I wonder who Osadebe is, Osadebe was the one who was the governor of the Midwest, and his name suggests is Igbo. Zik, of course, Azikiwe, who was the president, was like a queen equivalent of the first Republic of Nigeria at the time. He wasn't in charge, but he was the first, he was like the queen, the governor general equivalent. So you have Opara, who is Igbo, Zik, who is Igbo, and Osadebe, who is Igbo. They were left out of the January 15 coup. And this was really irking them and really annoying them so much that they want to kill everybody who is from Igbo. Okay, so Mbadive, they said, was the only Igbo man who would be spared on this march to Eastern region. So we're already planning to march to Eastern region. Okay, so this killing was happening in September, end of September, first week of October, 1966. They are planning to march to Eastern region because he was a good man. They're saying Mbadiwe is the one who had the opportunity to make Enugu an international airport. Instead, he messed up and moved it to the north, as usual. Now, all other Igbos must be destroyed. Of course, that's the impression they give. If you're good to them, then they try and spare you for the time being until they get to you in the end. Now, at 7 a.m. that same Sunday morning, they asked Mr. Lekiti and myself to get ready because we are going to show you how we have dealt with Opera brothers and sisters. So the soldiers took Mr. Okwawa, who was pretending to be the nephew of Mr. Lekiti, who's a Ghanaian. They took us to the railway station in an armed Land Rover, and there we saw a sight which I would never live to see again to my dying day. Over 600 men, women, and children have been mowed down. They have been killed while they were waiting for a train to take them to our region. A few of the children were still creeping over their dead mothers, shouting, "Mama, I am hungry. I want to drink." Some were sucking at their dead mother's breasts and left them to suck on. It should be borne in mind that 3 days earlier, this is the annoying bit, 3 days earlier, before this unprecedented massacre, it was announced over the Radio Kaduna, so-called Radio Fusion Kaduna network, that a passenger train would be leaving Kanu for Eastern region on the 2nd of October, and that all those wishing to travel should report on 1st of October at the railway station. Of course, over 700 Igbos packed to the railway station. The announcement was made by, guess who? A Mr. T. George. Mr. T. George is a senior train officer who incidentally is a native of Idoma. He was educated at Methodist College in Uzakoli. So he was a member of the Nasarawa Club and attended all the meetings where they made the decision to kill all the Igbos in the north. Now, when all the Igbos had entered the railway station, he ordered that the gates should be locked, so they couldn't get out. They drove us to the local running shed. So I just showed the background. We tell you what happened at the Kanji Dam. The police went to the siren. Everybody who wants to go, come to the police station. Here, they made on the radio, Kaduna, very popular, by somebody who they are familiar, hearing their voice, someone from Idoma, who was at the Uzakoli, which is in the east, where he schooled. So his voice is familiar, in order to lure all those Easterners who want to travel back to the east. 700 of them descended. They went to pack their things and go on the bank holiday, which was on the 1st of October, and they were mown down. Okay? So these people, so I want to stop there for now, because that's the experience that was going on in Kanu. So this guy, of course, eventually managed to escape and got home, and this bullet was fished out from his skull, and they lived to tell the tale. So that I'm just sharing this with you all so that you know the background to what happened to your people, to our people in the northern part of Nigeria. So I'm giving you the killing fields of K, Kaduna, K, Katsina, K, Kanji Dam, and K in Kanu. There are so many other towns with similar stories, just killing after killing after killing. So the only killing, the story goes that this killing stopped when? Anyone know? When there was no more Igbos or Nyamaris left in the north to kill. So as a result, there were an exodus, right? You weren't going to be told to hang around in the north. The only thing that's in everyone from the east, the only thing in their mind is how do we get home? They abandoned everything. They started walking. Some jumped into a plane that was going somewhere. Some jumped into a train. And when they got to Otubo or near the border of Enugu, as about to cross the River Benue, the train would stop. The mob would jump in, kill as many as they can, put the bodies back in, so that when they arrive at Enugu, they're injured, maimed, half dead, and so on, to frighten the Easterners. Okay? So that was the killing that was going on. I'll now quickly speed up and take you to the scenario then of what happened when the Igbos or the Nyamalis left the north. Yeah, it would be interesting to know where the houses, the Sabungaris, what actually took place. What happened then? Now you got rid of all the people from the eastern region. So, as evidence, I present before you a report from New York Times. Somebody called Lloyd Garrison, who went back to the Sabungari in the Kanu. Yeah. He went there on the 7th of December to report what was the state of affairs after the Igbos have left Sabungari. Yeah, it's good to look at it now from the other side. He said after the massacre of over 2,000 Igbos in Kanu in September 29, 1966, and the massive exodus of Igbos that immediately followed, New York Times correspondent Lloyd Garrison visited a deserted and desolate Sabungari Kanu, where the eastern Igbo quarters, and filed this report. Okay, so you understand the background. The killing has now stopped because no more Nyamaris to kill. Okay, now somebody needs to go there and find out what has happened. Okay, so he says outside the old city walls in Sabungari, or strangers' quarters, that's what it actually means, Sabungari, where the quarters in the north, you're not allowed to live inside their walled city because you're a foreigner, you're a stranger. So you left outside. So outside the walled cities, the houses were now empty, and the streets were deserted today, except for a stray dog resting in the shade of a tree. The only sound was the creaking of the house doors as they swung gently back and forth in the light breeze. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew several doors shut, and the dog, as if startled by a rifle shot, crouched. The sound left the dog trembling with fear, even now, more than 2 months after the massacre of the Igbos in the heart of the northern Nigeria Muslim North. There's little else to remind one of what happened here, except the sight of the occasional litter, the torn Bible on the floor of the Baptist church, and the OK Jazz stationery store. Otherwise, the shops and houses have been stripped of their furnishings, as if no one ever lived there. 30,000 Igbos once filled these dwellings, 30,000. But now, the Sabongari has become quite simply a ghost town. The bloodbath began on the 9th of September 29th, when northern troops opened fire on the Igbo refugees standing by at the airport. By dawn, northern soldiers with automatic weapons and civilians with machetes had swept through the city, burning, looting, and killing. As if by signal, most foreign observers here are convinced that the pogrom was planned. I told you before that it was not only planned, they didn't just have automatic weapons, rifles, bows and arrows, bricks, anything they can use to kill people. They also have typed addresses of where the Nyamiri is supposed to live. So it's not something you say is a riot, it just happened, it was planned. And then, the slaying spread to other Igbo communities in Nigeria, vast northern interests. So that's part of the report. Now, carry on with the report in the New York Times. No one knows how many were killed, and that's the fact. It's difficult to estimate the actual number that died. The report, the tribunal were mentioning, and those who escaped with their lives were able to tell the story. There are worse, gruesome stories which cannot be told because the people who it was acted upon have died. So they're not telling you the full story because you can't. It's just impossible. The extent of the calamity that befell our people. But the official census of the Northern Military Nigerian Lagos had approved. You see, you have to approve. They say, well, we're going to agree that 7,000 died. If 7,000 died, you have to times it by 100, as you and I know. Okay, so that's the one the official government approved. They actually agreed that thousands died. That's the key thing. Now, this is considered to be a conservative estimate. That's according to New York Times. A conservative estimate means it's under exaggerated. Now, Northerners here do not talk about what happened unless you ask them. Surprise, surprise. And their responses frequently include a comment that, the Igbos had it coming to them. Some samples. They were too pushy. So if you're very pushy, you should be killed. That's what they're saying. They took the best jobs. Okay, so because they have good jobs, you have to go and kill them. I told you before, there's something called privileged pariah. They were privileged because they had these jobs, but they are pariah, they're hated because they're in the different part of the country. So you kill them because they had the best jobs. They weren't content to do business. I don't know what they're supposed to do. You can't come into your wall city. They're not content to do business. They wanted to run everything. Guess who's running everything in Nigeria at the moment? Okay. Now, they called us backward because we were Muslims, really. Okay. But we were reading Arabic for centuries while they were still cannibals, really. Okay. Now, these are all the comments when this reporter went around asking, what happened? Can you tell us about these Igbo people? They're pushy. They don't want to do business. They call us backwards. They are cannibals. and so on. So kill them, yeah? Okay, now, if there was a plan to rid of the north of all Igbos, well, Harrison said it has succeeded. More than 1 million Igbos living in the north and in many other parts of the Federation have retreated to the sanctuary of the eastern region. So remember the word, the sanctuary. So eastern region, which later became Biafra, was as a result of all these killings. People retreated into what we call the sanctuary, into their homelands, into their villages, to their hamlets, where their extended families absorbed them. So if you want to talk about Biafra, you cannot but mention this. Yeah, it was a retreat into a sanctuary where you at least you're not going to be killed the next minute. Okay, there's nowhere else that was safe for you. Okay, now in the East, it is widely believed that the pogrom had religious overtones because the Igbos, of course, are Christians. But of the 32 northern soldiers now in detention, so actually they actually arrested some of the northern soldiers in detention. They have roads in killing. Most of them, they said, were southern half of the region, in other words, the mid-belt, where missionary education was permitted to penetrate. Remember I told you missionary education was not allowed to go into the north because they said we want to rule indirectly. Therefore, we maintain the Muslim way of doing things. Therefore, book is haram. Hence, you have Boko Haram. So therefore, if you learned anything about how you read and write and so on to do the modernity things, it was said to be haram. You're not allowed. So, but in the middle belt, missionary managed to get up there. And therefore, you have people like Gowan, whose father was a priest, and he was able to read and write, and therefore was anyway, and people like him. Now, 11 of those who were captured, the rioters, they said 11 of them were Catholic, and 10 of them were Protestants, and then 10 were Muslim. So these are the group of soldiers who did the killing. Now, with the Igbos departed, many predicted the North economy would then be paralyzed. So what happened when the Igbos left the North? All this, they had their privileged jobs and so on. Now, this is the situation. The breakdown may yet come, yeah? Because efficiency has certainly fallen off. So what are the actual Easterners doing in North? Well, there are some doubts that 50 million groundnut crops can be shipped to Lagos for export. There's some doubt about the economy. Now, but the trains, now this is what is something I'm telling you the Igbos have been doing. The trains are gradually beginning to run again. When the Igbos left, the trains wasn't running. So they had to get European engineers, okay, to help run the trains. Before that, they didn't need foreigners to run the trains. Unless you see Easterners are foreigners, of course. Now, and the Northern launched 2-month program to train Northern clerks, accountants, adding machine operators. They now have to recruit their own people, force them to learn to do all those things which the Igbos were doing. The telephone still worked, and the mail gets through. Although a letter posted from Lagos may take a week to arrive in Kanu. Let me repeat that. When the Igbos left, the letter you post from Lagos would take you 1 week to arrive in Kanu. It used to take 2 days. So that is the type of efficiency the Easterners were providing to the Nigerian economy. 2 days from Lagos to Kanu, your letter will be in your hand. Okay? When they left, it took a week. So Nigeria went backwards when it comes to running its commerce. Okay, now for too long, says Aminu Kanu. Aminu Kanu, one of the politicians, said for too long, we've been letting outsiders do things for us while we sat back relishing our traditions. Now, he says, now we will have only ourselves to blame for not advancing into the 20th century. But we must do it ourselves. So he recognized that there was some issue between them not being in touch with modernity. They now have to wake up and start doing things which the so-called Nyamuris were doing for them. Okay, so I parked that one side. So that is the background which I'm trying to bring to you to appreciate what has happened when the Igbos left the northern part of Nigeria at the time, between, October to December. So there's an issue before Biafra is launched, what was happening to Nigeria. So in the north, they have emptied the north of Igbos. Okay, in the west, although some stay behind, the majority of them are run back to the east, to this sanctuary we're going to call Biafra. Now, so the same reporter, Garrison, okay, Lloyd Garrison, for New York Times. What did he do? He went to Enugu, the receiving end, where the Igbos are run to, went to know what was happening on that side. He said, after over 1 million Easterners from the north poured into Enugu, this is a report, on the 9th of December 1966. So now, he says, there's an estimated massacre of Igbos in the north, in Kanu, for example, and other parts of Nigeria. New York Times correspondent Lloyd Garrison visited
All right,
Enugu.
Mazi, I need to ask you some questions. As you know, I have to interrupt you now and then. It might look a bit rude, but we have to do that. Listen, Mazi, I am so I don't know how to describe it, because I'm busy listening to you, knowing as a person who was born after the war, this whole thing for me is a nightmare. Now tell me, what is it about our people that we will wait for the last minute till when the knife is on our neck, we will not run for our life? And I mean, it is not just then, even today, we know that we have millions of our people in the north. And if anything has to happen today, it will be back again to history. Please go ahead.
Okay, to answer that one, you have to also understand the background to how Nigeria was in the 60s. Remember, we've been killed in 1945 in Jos. We've been killed in 1953 in Kanu. Okay? Now, this is 66. The strange thing about 66 was the primordial hatred was now unleashed. Is this deep-seated hatred was now industrialized and fanned. The emirs was at it. The soldiers were joining in. The civilians were joining. You can't call it a riot anymore. In fact, it was planned to empty the north of anyone from the east. So that is this now an industrial scale killing. Now, in May, when the first riot was taking place, Major General Aguirre, who's supposed to be an Igbo person, was the one head of government in Nigeria. You agree with that? So he was able to stamp out the May 66 rioting. They actually physically sent troops to go and quell it, and restore peace and order. Ojukwu told those people who managed to escape, it's okay, you can all go back now. There'll be no more killing. This is the last bloodshed we're going to have, so that we will, there'll be peace. His friend, Emir, Bayero Emir, who he made the chancellor of, University of Nigeria and Nsukka, much to the consternation of Nnamdi Azikiwe. Nnamdi Azikiwe helped to form the university. Okay, Ojukwu made a northern emir a chancellor. Okay, at the heat of the 66 when he became the governor. So now this friend of his reassured him that there'd be no more killing. Okay, so people, particularly from Newi, then went back because they listened to Ojukwu. They went back to the north. Then what happened? They got killed again. Okay, now you can blame them for why did they leave at the last minute? They were reassured in May. Okay, so now because we were reassured in May, they were able to go back. Now, what then happened was there's a chain of events, which one thing, when they then killed Aguirre, and this one is the coup, which Gowon became the head of, Muritala Muhammad and his gang, they killed Aguirre and started killing all the Igbo officers. So there was no more support to prevent any further killings. So the people living in the north, they have to literally make their way home okay, you'll have said, why don't they do it then? But because the coup was aborted, the eastern part, this was a coup which was supposed to take over the whole Nigeria, but the eastern part, Ojukwu was still in charge. He heard there was going to be a coup. He ran into the police station where he stayed, and he was guarded. So they did not get at him. They didn't get him to replace him. You remember the Enugu garrison was run by the northern soldiers. Benjamin Adekunle was actually in charge there at the time. So they could have killed Ojukwu, but the coup didn't work. So at that stage then, Ojukwu became the only person who could ask people and protect them. He couldn't protect his people because he can't tell them, stay in the north. Don't come back to the east or whatever. So he says, if you can cross this line, if you can come over to the eastern region by whatever means, yeah, then you are safe. Going back to this concept of sanctuary. So when they were told to return, every nook and cranny, anyone who can write, say, if you have a relative in the north, you were told, come home. That was one singular information. Come home was the message, and Igbos, they poured home. Okay, so I would agree with you. At the moment in time, we tend to leave things too late, but at the 66 killings, they had no choice. That's why they came home in droves. Okay, so we have to perhaps differentiate that. Now, dial that forward. I believe in the 80s or so, 90s, they were trying to kill the Igbos again, right? So Ojukwu said, look, this time round, we're not running. We're not going to go anywhere. I think, I've forgotten what declaration it is. Is it the Kanu, Kaduna, or whatever declaration is called? They say, if they kill enough, kill them back. Yeah, so he warned the Kanu Emir. When you start killing the Igbos, remember, when this time finishes, there'll be nothing left in Kanu. So that's how they backed off. Okay? So they decided, we're not running anymore. We're going to stay there and die and fight with them. So there's a change in the scene. For those who feel that, you can just go and kill the Igbos anyhow you like.
All right,
I give it an instant.
All right, not interrupting again, but I need to come in here. Now, would it be right if I say that the reason why our people don't want to leave the north, even till today, is because of business interest and wrong investment they made in the wrong place?
Okay, I will answer that. First of all, there's also, in addition to what you said, there's this concept that they have built a house, they have a hotel, and so on. So if you join Biafran struggle, we're going to lose those hotels, we're going to lose those houses.
There we go.
It's an erroneous understanding, because as of now, this very minute, your house, your business, whatever it is you build in North cannot be guaranteed. The only thing that guarantees it is that you have a Biafra as a country, so that if anything happens to you, you be a foreign indigent, they have to compensate you for what you have. At the moment, they feel that, well, we're not going to join this Biafra train because if we do, we lose our investment. It's a wrong thing. It's a wrong thinking. And the second part to that question is, why did they not invest in Biafra land? Because there's nothing there. You don't have the roads. Go to the north and see what the roads are like. You don't have the trains. How many trains do you have in the Biafra land? You have the infrastructure. It's not there, and it's deliberately so that you're forcing them to invest outside Nigeria. So if you change that scenario whereby you quit the East, there'll be no need for them to go and live there and stick their neck out, because they know if you have a beauty contest and a stage in the north, and somebody said, we don't like what's happening, they kill the Igbos. If there's a lunar eclipse somewhere, they turn around and kill the Igbos. If there's a Denmark cartoonist drawing about Muhammad, they turn around and kill the Igbos. So I'm afraid the scenario continues until our people understand that they once upon a time, the killing stopped. Not only when they killed all the Igbos in the north, also when they had a place called Biafra, you have to come and defend and fight your way through every village. And in the end of that fighting, they say no victor, no vanquish. Because unless you have a place you can call your home, you're currently going to be killed like a stray dog, I'm afraid to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please continue uninterruptedly. I think we still have almost half an hour to go again. Take it up.
So the theme I was developing then was the fact that we have now been to the north, we've been kicked out. The report from the garrison, from these garrison guys, this is the background in the north. Things are not running as efficiently as they think they're good at. Yeah? Because the Igbos are providing some important services. The English or the British who appointed them to those posts before independence was because they are the ones who can read and write, who can do the job properly. Okay, the British will not say to you, oh, because you're from a tribe 7, therefore I'm going to appoint you. They say, you are from tribe whatever, you can do the job, I appoint you. So that's one thing that was not made known to those in the north. So they saw those who came from outside as privileged pariahs, as I keep using the term the sociologists use. So I'll now tell you what happened at Enugu. So they are poured into Enugu as the capital for other parts of the eastern region. So this garrison went there to report the events. Now, this is what happened. So he got to a place where they called, where they were settling the refugees. So here is a snippet of what happened. Somebody was lining up and they said, what is your name, sir, please? They asked the man behind the desk, yeah, without looking up at the applicant standing before him. So people are returned and they went to an office to register the fact that they're refugees. Is there any job for them? So this is an important part of why Biafra came. These are refugees that need to be rehabilitated. There are over 2 million. Remember the Rohingyas scenario, they left where they were and the whole world knew that there was a crisis. Anywhere where you have a flock of people pouring into one part, yeah, be it people leaving Syria, people leaving Afghanistan, doesn't matter where they are, when they arrive at the other destination, they become refugees. But when this happened to the Easterners, they poured into the eastern region. And somehow, there was no external help. Even their own government, who's supposed to help them, turned their back. And this is what led to Biafra being established. I'll come back to this theme. So, Garrison therefore visited what was like a center where these people have been processed. Yeah? So, he said, what's your name? So, my name is Sunday Ofokaja. Ofokaja, I'm not sure I pronounced it properly. Ofokaja. Yeah, Ofokaja. So age 41, occupation, certified public accountant. Sign the card here and print your name and address under the signature, said the man, fine, next. So they were being processed. It's not a laughing matter. There are people in the queue. They were being processed. You're an accountant, you're a mechanic, you're this. We have to try and find a job for you now in the eastern region. Okay, so there was people who were destitute. Remember, this is December. Christmas is coming. The school fees haven't been paid. The children, some have escaped, some have, and so on and so forth. Now, so this reporter was reporting the scenario in the eastern region, the crisis of one of the towns. Said it was such an abrupt ritual that the accountant had no time to say more, to pour out his desperation, to tell how he lost everything in Kanu, his job at the bank, his car, his TV set, and say that this was, and then say all he had was his lucky escape with his life. Without a word, this Sunday guy turned and left, passing a long line of refugees that stretched along the corridor down the steps of the Eastern Region Refugee Commission headquarters here in Enugu, which is the region capital. The accountant was one of slightly more than 1 million Easterners, most of them Igbos, who fled to their eastern region homeland after the September massacre, Easterners living in northern region. The commission here is well staffed and is working overtime to settle the refugees. But It is an awesome undertaking. So far, the Eastern Region government has earmarked £2.8 million, equivalent for rehabilitation. Meaning, it's okay. They said $2.8 million because they're writing in the American newspaper, New York Times. They said that's equivalent of $2.8 million for the rehab. And then the federal government in Lagos is supposed to contribute $980,000. Now, nearly half of this total is going to pay the salaries of hundreds of civil servants who retreated here from all parts of the Federation and who had been absorbed by putting them on the regional government payroll. So the scenario was you worked for the government, but you have now left Kanu, you left Kaduna, you run away, and no one is paying your salary. So you have to be absorbed by the Eastern Region government. Okay, bear that in mind. I'll visit this later. Now, the bulk of the rest of the money, which is more than 600,000, is being invested in new farm cooperatives to increase the food production and provide new job opportunities. But we are already encountering some difficulty with all the farm schemes and so on. So I will spare you reading the whole story if you get a chance to study it. What it is that the government was trying its best to rehabilitate these people who have then left in a hurry their television, their cars, their jobs not being paid, and so on. Someone had to somehow carry this burden. In the tradition, be an African tradition, an Igbo tradition, someone comes from somewhere. So you have to rely on your extended family to support you. If it wasn't for the extended family system, it would have been impossible to reabsorb 2 million people, which is 17% of the population at the time in the Eastern region. Okay? So that was the background then when all the killings was going on in the north, and we now have Eastern region as a sanctuary. Okay, if I just use that term for now. We're now talking December. So what was going on? Well, I tell you, there was a song, okay, because every single village or town that you go to, if your relative didn't come back from Lagos or from Kanu, from Zaria, from Kaduna, from Maiduguri, from Sokoto, you have a story to tell. I said last time, some people were cut in pieces that they weren't even, culturally allowed to be buried in their own compound. So the scenario in the Eastern region in the December of 1966 was very, very grim indeed. And artists, these musicians, they always sing about what they're seeing in front of them. So there's a song by Rex Lawson that goes something like this. Onnuoha, yeah? Onnuoha. Let me just force myself to sing it. Onnuoha. Mashingi Arawane. Ashingi Arawane. Onarima. He played it over and over and over again. It was the mood, it's a somber music. Everybody heard it. And they were just playing it over and over because Onnuoha means there's death everywhere. There's nowhere on the planet where you don't have any death. So it's like a balm to try and cushion the impact, the people, the suffering, just to dampen them down. Okay? But, human beings, we're not satisfied. The Igbos, on the other hand, the people who were in the Eastern region, they felt they needed the vengeance. It's like when you send the Abreba warriors to go across the north and kill as many northerners as possible. Yeah? So there was some areas where, indeed, the northerners were attacked. But the Ojukwu said, we mustn't do this. No way. He wasn't going to have it. So you needed some strong leadership at that time. Otherwise, you would have internal killings everywhere. So Ojukwu forced them to remain calm. And in fact, he went and rounded the northerners and spoke to them in the Hausa language. Asked them to pack their things and they would be escorted. Can you believe that? They had the soldiers, the army, to escort them out to the east. Some took the flight, some were taken across to the Niger border, if they want to go via Lagos area. So they were escorted out of the east by the forces in the east, so that they would be immune or protected from what the general public were seeing. Okay, so it took strong leadership to be able to dampen the anger that was welling in the eastern region. Okay, so this was around December. Okay, so this is before Ojukwu then had to go to Aburi, because at this stage we say we've been chased out of Nigeria. Okay, one who is rejected by others cannot reject himself. It's time for us to go. We're going to lose a lot, but it's time for us to go. And this is what Ojukwu has to tell them. He has to provide strong leadership. We're talking a 32, 33-year-old man as a head of state. Can you imagine? Okay? He said, of all the things that we suffered, this is a quote I got from 1966. Indeed, he said, we are braced to face and encounter the challenge of the future. We believe that the tomorrow we face, or the battle for survival, will not be won by bullets or savagery, but by brain power, modern skills, and the determination to live and succeed. We also believe that out of the carnage and wrecks of the past will emerge a new breed of men and women who are resolute, powerful, and prosperous. That's Lieutenant Colonel C.O. Ikechukwu, 1966. Biafra hasn't been declared, but he has to calm his people. He has to tame them. He has to tell them, let's look not for revenge, but to build a new country, build a new path to survive as a people. Okay? That is what we mean by strong leadership. And he had a class 1966, class 1970 to thank for. They were really, really up for it. Okay. Sorry, you were going to say something?
No, not at all. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay, so what I said, therefore, we needed strong leadership. At that time, otherwise Nigeria would just flare up. Everybody just go take the knife and go to the north and start killing for what has happened to their own people. So he managed to contain it. As you know, Ojukwu, when he came back from exile, he was called Eze Bulubulu Igbo. Is that right? Eze Ndibo Bulubulu. And he says, Onu Nekuru Orama. Now is the mouthpiece for his people. So he stepped in the gap. We've never seen such a leader. He came in to dampen the pain of his people. And then he was told that we should, why are we still in Nigeria? He took one extra step called the Aburi. Yeah? He has to go that extra mile. And this is very important. As I said last time, the killing started in May. It was in May the year after, 1 year before Biafra was declared. Biafra, as you've been to understand now, is like a sanctuary. We can't go back to Nigeria to kill us. If we stay here, well, we have to build a new system. But we built Nigeria. But we have to now build. Remember the trains? Remember the newspaper? Remember the post office running efficiently from Lagos to Kaduna or to Kanu in 2 days. When we left, it take off the 1 week, if at all it gets there. Okay? So the efficiency with which Nigeria was run, thanks to those people, has now been kicked out. And nobody cared. Right. Now, so that's against the background to which we are now going to find a solution to all these killings. And that is why Aburi was called. Why Aburi? Well, Aburi was because the last time they had a conference when Gowon became the head of state, or they took over the government, there was a conference going on, and while the conference was going on, the killing resumed in the north. So Gowon wasn't actually stopping anybody being killed. And in the end, he got exasperated and said, for God's sake, the killing has to stop. Enough bloodshed. Enough. So, but from July, August, September, October, no, people were being killed. He did nothing as the head of state. Okay? So, he made fancy speeches. God has made it possible for the Northerners to become the head of state again. Da-da-da-da-da-da. He wasn't really doing anything to stem the bloodshed. But, so, we got to December. We now got to find a solution to all this goings on. So that is why Aburi was an important meeting. The Aburi meeting, they bring the British in a bit. The Brits were looking for where we're going to have this conference. If Ojukwu went back to Lagos, they'll arrest him. They'll kill him. If he went to the north, he'll not be safe to come back. So he says there's nowhere in Nigeria where we can sit down and have this meeting. That's how bad things were. And of course, Nigerians had to come back and say, well, we can't trust that Gowon will come to the east and be safe either, which may well be true. So they cannot have the meeting about the future security of the country within the same country. So that's how bad things were. The British stepped in. Oh, why don't we have this meeting at the British warship parked outside the shores of Nigeria in Lagos? So, any scholars, history scholars here, why that would not be a good idea? British government was offering them to have this conference in a British warship off the coast of Nigeria. And of course, Ojukwu did history in Oxford. I think he will have come across the history of Jaja of Opobo. Jaja of Opobo, as you all know, was trading independently and competing with the British under Victorian rule. So they said, let's have a conference in our boat parked outside Opobo. So he by the way, when he comes, don't bring your army. It's okay. So he turned up for this gentleman's meeting. They kidnapped him, extraordinary renditioned him to West Indian island, and on his way back he died. So Ojukwu remember the history. So you can't go and have a meeting in the British boat. So he has got an antecedent to follow. So therefore he said, no, I'm not going to a British warship to discuss what's happening. So this is where the Ghanaians stepped in. General Ankara, who took over from Nkrumah, decided, let's have this meeting in Ghana, a neutral ground. Ojukwu flies straight to Ghana, and the Nigerian delegate will go to Ghana, and they will meet at the conference place. So, 4th and 5th of January 1967. So we survived 66 with a lot of wound for the people of the Eastern region. We now need to find a solution. So they went to Aburi on 4th January and 5th of January to discuss how are we going to live together, okay, in one country. What is the way forward? So they met in Aburi. I'll say to you, after the war, Gowon said, there are no victors, no vanquished. Is that not so? And we have 3 R's. Yeah? Reconstruction, reconciliation, and rehabilitation. Yeah? Great. Okay. All sounds very good, but if you study it, there are 2 cons in that 3 R's. Anyway, we'll come back to that. The Aburi Accord had actually 6 R's, what I call 6 R's. After the war, you have 3 R's. What I'll say to you, if we have carried out the Aburi Accord, the 6 R's, there'll be no need for the 3 R's, which was a sham anyway. Okay. The first R of the Aburi Accord was the renunciation, okay, of the use of force to settle Nigerian crises. That's the first R. Yeah? We are not going to use military force or any other force to sort out Nigerian internal problem. Renunciation of force was number 1. They agreed to that. The second R was reorganization of the army. Why do we need to reorganize? Well, we have the Northern Army going around killing people who are not of Eastern origin, and nowhere else is safe in Nigeria. So the army needs to be reorganized. Who army have you got? Is it Northern Army? Is it a Nigerian army? Is it Yoruba army? Or is it Eastern army? So the army needs to be reorganized, and they need to stay in their own station, their own regions. Because if you're an army officer of Eastern origin and you go to the north, you may not come back, and vice versa. So the army needs to be reorganized. That's the second R. The third R is what they call the regional autonomy. Yeah, you have to return to the regions, because the whole rioting, they say, UNC brought Decree 34 and tried to force everybody into becoming one country instead of their regions. We want to have our regions. So all the decree, when the military came in 1966, was rescinded, and they returned to regional autonomy. That's R number 3. R number 4, now, I mentioned to you, those people lining up in Enugu, trying to find a means of living again, we call rehabilitation of the Eastern refugees. You need to rehabilitate them. You need to pay their salary. You need to remember this area, this region now needs support from the center. You need to rehabilitate those who have been killed. We aren't even talking compensation yet. Just get them employed. Get their means of livelihood going again. You need to rehabilitate them. Don't wait till you finish killing them in the war and start rehabilitating them. You can do it now. Okay? So that's the 4th R. The 5th R is what they call revenue reallocation for financial secretaries. They were supposed to meet, and the revenue reallocation was to be formalized. Yeah, they're supposed to do revenue reallocation. Okay? So at the moment, Zamfara, we have gold, and we're not bringing it to the center. And the riverine area, we say this oil belongs to us. We want to. So the formula for sharing what you have was discussed in Aburi. That's R number 5. R number 6, let me explain this one. They wanted the actual recording, this particular peace talk, they wanted it to be handed over to the OAU, Organization of African Unity, what they call Adi Amama, as a guarantee that we have had a chat. This is what we discussed, just in case other countries don't know what happened. So Ojukwu brought this idea. They said, no, we are brothers. No. This is an internal matter. We will deal with it. No, we're not going to go to OAU and hand over what we discussed. So this R number 6 was not agreed upon. But every other R, 5 out of 6, as I mentioned to you, the renunciation of use of force, the reorganization of the army, the return of regional autonomy, the rehabilitation of Eastern refugees, the revenue allocation, all these were agreed upon. Okay? And something about if you're going to have a decision, it has to have concurrence of all the various regions, because they now have regional commanders. Everything was formalized, and so those are the principles on which Aburi was based on. So Ojukwu didn't get the 6 out of the 6 R's, the one where you report all the findings and deposit it in OAU. They turned it down. But nevertheless, the whole conference was recorded in a gramophone long play LP, so that it is possible to play it, so nobody will say, this is not what we said. And at the end, they all have to read the transcript, and they all have to sign it in front of General Ankara. General Ankara read it and said, anyone want to amend anything? They said no. And they signed it. And if you look at the pictures, Ojukwu and Gowon was eating from the same plate, a bowl of rice, if I recall, and some meat in it. None of them was using a long spoon, okay? They were eating as brothers. Everybody agreed. The Aburi Accord was very, very successful. So on the 5th of January, they all left Ghana. Everybody breathed a huge sigh of relief. Whew, we can carry on again as a family. Then the problem started. The problem started because when Gowon got back, the permanent secretary said, did you know what he signed? Do you know you signed away Nigeria? Really? We're going to be a confederacy. What's that? Well, Ojukwu have confused you people. You know, he went to Oxford. Very, very sad. And maybe I'm over dramatizing this. This is very serious. The highest authority in the country went and had a conference. They signed a form, which they should abide by, and then one side decided not to agree with it any longer. This is where Nigeria was destroyed. Okay, so not only were the Easterners kicked out of the federation, they tried to come back in a way that will accommodate everybody. Okay, and this was turned down. Gowon, instead of announcing, this is what we have done, this is announcing to the nation, this is what we agreed at Aburi, this is what we're supposed to do, he decided, maybe I gave away so much. So what exactly did you give away? Yeah? What did you give away? Yeah? Did you give away the fact that renunciation of force as a way of solving the problem is not a good idea? Is that what you gave away? What about reorganizing of the army? What have we got now? We got Boko Haram in the army. Yeah, so-called repentant Boko Haram in the army. The Nigerian army, who are they protecting? The army is not reorganized. If it was reorganized in 66 or 67, we wouldn't have this mess. We would have an army which is neutral and able to respond to any threat to the nation. What about regional autonomy? Well, that's what we are vying for now. Everybody wants to have their own autonomy. If this region wants to do this region, that is what is happening now. How about rehabilitation of refugees? You now have, because you didn't do this to the eastern refugees, you now have internally displaced refugees in the north, more than, I dare say, than they had in the eastern region before the war started. So failure to rehabilitate the eastern refugees have left you with more internally displaced human beings in the Nigerian than they had. So another failure. Okay, revenue allocation. Well, Zamfara will discover gold and will not bring it to the center. And those who have oil bring it to the center. And how long when this run out? Nobody wants to contribute. Everyone wants to take from the center and not allocate accordingly. Okay? So, there are issues then as a result of the failure to carry out the 5 R's on Aburi Accord. You ended up with a war, okay? Because renunciation of the use of force was abandoned. And you used force to force people back in to the country. So, that's a failure number 1. Because of that, renunciation of force was not applied. Officers and gentlemen, you ended up asking for 3 R's. You ended up having to reconstruct areas where you destroyed in your 3 R's. You have to reconcile with the enemy. Yeah, your brothers and sisters are supposed to have been in the same country. You need to reconcile them. And then you have to do rehabilitation, which should have used the funds to rehabilitate those refugees in the first place. But the rehabilitation, which you did after the war, was a joke. Because rehabilitation started, reconstruction started in Festac town in Lagos. You built a brand new stadium, and then it carried on. It's not coming to the east. You moved it to build a brand new capital in Abuja. So the area where you had the war, you just ignored it. So there's a lot to learn from Nigerian history about what happened at Aburi. And they're still thinking about it. The failure to implement Aburi is what led very, very rapidly to the nosedive that created Biafra.
All right.
This is where we headed in the first place. So January came.
Mazi, can you hear me?
Ojukwu got back and celebrated. Aburi was a success because you remember he was being told, don't go because there's nothing to. We can't trust these people any longer. You told us to go back when they killed us in May. They didn't. They carried on killing us. Now Aburi, you brought Aburi. What do you think will happen if Aburi is jettisoned? Do you think Ojukwu will ever be trusted again? Okay, so
all right, Mazi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to give you a 5 minutes break, and we will take a break this side. I mean, you've been talking for more than an hour, and that's not an easy, it's an act. So I want you to get some water, and we will come back in the next 5 minutes, and then, of course, you will start wrapping up. I feel like you can talk the whole day today. That's the mood I am in. But I'm willing to give you even another 15 more minutes. But let's take a 5 minutes break, and we'll be back. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, we will take a quick break and we will be back. We are talking Biafran History 101, Part 4. And with me, of course, is Dr. Ukachi Lois, all the way from the United Kingdom, telling us our history. Bob Marley said, if you don't know your history, then you're lost. You will not know where you're coming from. And also an Igbo adage says, and I quote, Onyama gebe mmiri nọrọ mawa ya, anaga ama ebe ọ nọrọ bido. And this is Constructive Argument with Mazi IKechukwu Onnuoha on Radio Biafra.
This is Constructive Argument on Radio Biafra with Mazi IKechukwu Onnuoha. Bring your argument and we've got the solution. Constructive Argument. We hit below the belt. Radio Biafra. We've got you covered. This is Constructive Argument on Radio Biafra with Mazi IKechukwu Onnuoha. Bring your argument and we've got the solution. Constructive Argument. We hit below the belt. Radio Biafra. We've got you covered. Is Constructive Argument on Radio Biafra with Mazi IKechukwu Onnuoha. Bring your argument and we've got the solution. Constructive Argument. We hit below the belt. Radio Biafra. We've got you covered.
That's right, Radio Biafra it is, and we've got you covered. Talking History 101, Biafra History Part 4 this evening. And of course, with me is Dr. Justice Ukachi Lois. He is the man telling us the story as we are gathered in front of the moonlight and we are hearing the stories of the old, the things that happened when even some of us were not born. We need to know who we are. Very, very important. Your children must be taught their history. All right, I have a breaking news that I need to bring across to you before I go back to the doctor. It is IPOB press release. Very, very important, and I want you to pay close attention. This press release was released on the 26th day of August 2022, which is today. Now, Oji Uzo and co declared enemies in Biafra land. And I want you to get this right. Oji Uzo and co declared enemies in Biafra land. And you know what that means. Non grato. They are non grata in Biafra land. Following the threat from an ex-convict, Alhaji Ozi Uzo Carlo, to flush out innocent citizens of Biafra, and precisely the good people of ESN operatives in the bushes and other forests protecting our farmland. We, the global family and movement of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, under the leadership and command of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, confirms the report of barbaric and secret murder of arrested innocent Biafrans by Nigerian terrorist military inside Ohafia military barrack under the approval of Alhaji Oji Uzo Carlo. We want to inform Oji Uzo Carlo that he and his political accomplices have murdered sleep. They should be ready to confront IPOB in a long-drawn battle. Alhaji Oji Uzo Carlo and some people and soldiers in Ohafia held a secret meeting yesterday, the 24th of August. I think it was supposed to be 25th of August 2022 in Asage, Ohafia, and celebrated the killing and execution execution of our members recently taken into Ohafe military barrack. They agreed to deal with anybody suspected to be member of, or rather a sympathizer of IPOB or Biafra agitation. They wrote and drawn and submitted 25 names of young men to be abducted as IPOB members to Nigerian military for possible execution. The security challenge of kidnapping and car snatching around Lokpanta, Isukwato, Isuchi, Omunochi, and Okigwe Omololo routes were created and led by Alhaji Ojo Zokalo. The following APC members were in the secret meeting where they agreed to hand over IPOB members to Nigerian military barracks in Ohafia for secret execution. The names are as follows: Mr. Ibeopo, the ringleader, and his phone number is 080-359-22328. All right, I'm not going to be calling the numbers. I will paste it where you can get them. The second name, Honorable Anya Okorie, and he is a councillor of Ohafia Ward 1. Chief Michael Mecha, former Ezogo of Asaga. Awa Carlo Awa Ndi Nkwama Asaga. Abuja Uche Imbo. Aso Oburo. Roland Onwuka. Mong Agwo. Awa Nnalodo. Uma Okereke Asaga Youth Leader. Biggie, and so on. It's obvious that everybody can attest that Alhaji Ojo Zokalo and some of his APC members are Fulani agents paid to maim and destroy our people, especially the IPOB family members in Abia North, for colluding with murderous Fulani-led military to illegally arrest and kill our people. We are declaring Alhaji Ojo Zokalo and the above-listed traitors as persona non grata in the eastern region. Anywhere they are seen, they should be treated as enemies of Biafra and the people. They are Fulani in Igbo skin. Anywhere Oji Uzo is seen doing campaign, rally in Biafra land, he should be brought to justice. Do the needful. If you are a hardcore, anywhere you see Ojo Zokalo, I say, do the needful. Ojo Zokalo should not be allowed to have any political rallies in our territory any longer, because he is murdering our people, especially the youth in Ohafia, Abia State, and he will be held to account for their death. The above named traitors with the Fulani useful idiot should be held accountable for any harm on IPOB family members in Ohafia, Bende, and the whole of Abia North Senatorial Zone. Of course, this message was brought for you, or rather signed by Comrade Ima Powerful, Media and Publicity Secretary for IPOB, Ojo Zokalo, and his co-traveler are persona non grata in Biafra land. Wherever you see Ojo Zokalo and the names I've just read, do the needful, and the hardcores understand. All right, let's go back to Biafra History 101. Now, this is a live program for those of you who might think it's a recorded. It is live, it is direct. I've got my pen, my paper ready, and I'm learning, and I hope you are. Let's go back to Dr. Lois Ukachi. Mazi, can you hear me? If you can, please take it away, and I will give you 15 more minutes to the top of the hour, and we will call it a day. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, and the whole world is listening. Let's do this.
Okay. So we just quickly remind ourselves, we just talked about Ojukwu going to Aburi as the last resort, and his people are waiting with bated breath to see whether that will help them survive the killings they endured. So Aburi was hailed by those who were there, including by the Ghana head of state, as a success. It was done behind closed doors without any outside interference. But when they got back, those who were supposed to take the decision as the Supreme Military Council, who are the highest authority in the land, somehow decided to backtrack. They said, what we signed is not really in the best interest of the nation. I'm not sure which of those R's they want to change. So January came, Ojukwu announced that on Aburi we stand. Aburi is something his people hope will allow them to have some catch their breath from all the killing. But even then, remember what I said, he told them in May to go back, everything will be okay, they got killed. Some who stayed got killed, so there's nowhere safe. They went to Aburi as a last resort. Now, instead of implementing Aburi Accord, they're now dragging their feet. They're going back. So January came, the 4th and 5th, after the conference, nothing was implemented. They started leaking some of the information from Aburi, which wasn't accurate. The Jukwu had to counter it by releasing the gramophone play of what the conference was. And of course, if you're trying to fool the Igbo people, you just ask to hear what one person have said. They want to hear the other side. So they have listened to the Aburi Accord on the long gramophone play, and they printed a shirt on Aburi We Stand. Yeah, that's really it. The Duke was made to stand on Aburi We Stand. So they printed a T-shirt on Aburi We Stand. So that started selling a hot cake. But what was happening is as January rolled into February, there was a suspicion that Gowon was not going to carry out the implementation of Aburi. It's really a kick in the teeth. So there was, if you like, it's always good to look at outsiders' recording, not Eastern region or a Biafran person, an Igbo person. New York Times stepped in on the March 8th, 1967. They reported that Ojukwu has addressed the press meeting, about the increasing difficulty the Eastern region was having with Lieutenant Colonel Gowon, who was the federal government. Referring to the differences, he said, Ojukwu said, I cannot see us bridging seeing them bridged, the differences between the Lagos government and the Eastern government, because they're not implementing what we said. Okay, it's now 2 months. Remember it happened in January. 2 months since the Aburi Accord, the government therefore moved, concerned about the deteriorating situation. So it was the Ghanaian government was now really getting concerned. So what was happening was that after that meeting, and implementation was not going on, so Ojukwu started stating that, look, if you're not going to carry out all that we have said, okay, it is going to be necessary for us to take alternate measures to safeguard the security and safety of our people. So when he said something like that, it became like a warning shot to Gowon. So Gowon was saying, hang on, we're going to resist any invasion. We're going to resist any secession. But no one is threatening secession. Ojukwu was saying to him, we have a problem. The people who have run away from the north, from other parts, need to be rehabilitated. You're not doing anything about it. And it's part and parcel of the agreement. So they say, well, East, if the East secede, this and that and that. So you could say the East is not going to secede, but we'll see if attacked, of course, we will defend ourselves. These are the conditions for East seceding. East will secede if there's a blockade, okay, and if physically attacked, we have every right to defend ourselves. So that is what was happening now. We're heading to tension between the Nigerian Lagos government and the Eastern region government. And I explained to you what that means. Ojukwu said in February that if by the end of March 31st, the Gowon has not started paying some money towards the rehabilitation of all these people and implement the Aburi Accord, then he, Ojukwu, will have to do something to secure his people. Okay? So So they announced that on the 31st of March, there's something called Survival Edict. Survival Edict is an important thing to understand. It means that every tax collected in the eastern region, right, instead of paying it to Lagos, you now paid that tax to the eastern Nigerian government, which are going to use to pay for rehabilitating people where you have extra places in schools, extra hospital requirement, all the infrastructure you need to do for the 2 million are poured into that part of the country. So it's a 6-page edict directing all federal tax collectors in the east to pay the revenues direct to the eastern region. Gowon went berserk. So you can't do that. He blockaded the eastern region. He sent a gunboat to blockade them so they can't transmit anything outside. They can't trade with anybody. So Ojukwu said, hang on, there are 2 ways of killing somebody. If you shoot at them, I forgot the exact quote. So if you shoot somebody, you'll be accused of murder, yes? Also, if you strangle them, you'll also be accused of murder, yes? So it says the East will succeed if attacked. A physical attack, which is or an economic blockade. He said, we all know when you pick up a pistol and shoot a man, it is called murder. And equally so, when you strangle him. So what Ojukwu say is that if you're going to strangle our trade, yeah, so that we can trade, then we're not going to be able to survive as an entity. And I can tell you for free, before the war started, commodities like salt immediately started becoming expensive. So we're already on economic blockade before the war started. People don't know this. So Nigeria imposed a blockade in the east because Ojukwu was saying, I'm going to collect the tax in the east. I'm not going to send it to Lagos because they're not using it to help rehabilitate this rehabilitation. So the whole thing was, if you like, it was spreading in the media. So much so, there's something called the liaison officer in international post. Every region in those days, be you north, midwest, west, and east, you had a representative office in Washington, in America, in London. In other words, it's like your own mini embassy. So the Biafran or the Eastern Region's liaison officer had to take an advert on the newspaper in the New York Times to explain the eastern side of what was happening. Because the Americans were now accusing the Eastern region, oh, you're about to secede. You're about to secede. What is going on here? So I read you the letter in the New York Times from someone who is the liaison officer.
All right,
explaining
Mazi, we need to start wrapping it up. Our time is up, and of course, next week we start the part 5. Please go ahead and round up. Thank you very much.
So this letter will help us to understand the East's position before Biafra was declared. He wrote a letter. So in a letter to the editor of the New York Times, the Eastern Region Nigeria Liaison Officer, Mr. Oji, explained his position. This is the summary of where we are before Biafra was declared. He said, Eastern Nigeria appreciates your concern over the crisis in our country. To eliminate possible misunderstanding, however, may I comment on 2 points. Your March 11th editorial referred to me as an Eastern Nigerian who represents himself as liaison officer in the United States for Ojukwu's regime. So they already started calling him a regime. I am not here for self-appointment. For 4 years, I served as consul, commercial, for the Nigerian Consul General in New York. As a Nigerian of Eastern origin, I was recently forced out of that position. He's already been kicked as a Nigerian. Okay? Now he's representing the Eastern region. The Eastern region therefore gave me a current post. Each of the 4 regions in Nigeria had the privilege of representing abroad or promote trade and investment. Eastern Nigeria has had a representative in New York and London intermittently during the last few years. This is no different in the recent opening in New York. My office is properly registered. It is Free World we are entitled to provide information of concern and interest to the American people to make known our point of view. Here we go. A picture captioned March 10th said that Colonel Ojukwu, the military governor of Eastern Nigeria, is leading a secessionist movement. Colonel Ojukwu is not leading a secessionist movement. He is attempting to lead the people of this region out of an untenable position forced on them by northern-dominated federal government. Some 30,000 Nigerians of Eastern origin were killed in the north during 1966. Some 2 million Eastern Nigerians were forced to flee other sections of the country and seek safety and protection in their home region. There is little understanding of the awesome burden placed on the Eastern region to provide housing, jobs, security for these people, whose presence has expanded the population by 17%. And there is little understanding of the indifference of the federal government to their problem. The situation demands a reallocation of revenues between the regions and the federal government. Accordingly, Colonel Ojukwu and his government of the region met in Aburi, Ghana in January, negotiated an agreement which, among other things, provide for a study of revenue to reallocation of the finance secretaries of the region and the federal government. The Eastern region has been calling for such meeting of the finance secretaries, but the federal government have not acted. Only the implementation of the Aburi Agreement can save the Nigerian Federation. This is the fight Colonel Ojukwu is leading, not a secessionist movement. So that was the, if you like, the situation where we are at the moment. Because of the reneging of the signing at Aburi, Nigeria faced a situation where the East had to decide what to do next. Okay? So the next time we talk about it is the Declaration of Biafra. I think I've been able to lay bare where we started and how we got to where we are. So whereby Colonel Ojukwu at that time, then known, and Gowon were not singing from the same hymn sheet any longer. They were no longer compatible because Ojukwu was saying one thing, Gowon was insisting on certain things being done. And as a result, Ojukwu was going to ask the representative of Eastern Nigeria to tell him what to do. So they called the chiefs and elders, 300 of them turned up, and they voted with their feet that we have been kicked out of Nigeria. Let's go it alone and declare Biafra. So he got the mandate, and Biafra was declared. Nigeria invaded on the 6th of July 1967, and you have Biafra, Nigeria war. Thank you very much for listening.
Stunning. Awesome. All right. Next week, Friday, if God permits, and of course, if your time permits, we're looking at part 5. So what should we be expecting, Biafran History part 5?
I will think about it. It will be the declaration of Biafra.
Absolutely. All right.
And why Biafra was declared. I've given you all the. It's purely for security. It's a safe haven from all the killings. And then, but we haven't declared that you then have to defend your right. And that's what happened. And from there, we lead to humanitarian crises that made Biafra a conscience of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate your time once again. And of course, if God's saving us and sparing us, we're looking forward to part 5 next week. Thank you, and God bless.
Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right. That was Dr. Justice Ukachi Lois, of course, giving us History 101, Biafran History Part 4, and we are looking for Part 5. This is going to be an archive because our children must know. They must learn. He was talking about Kanji Dan. Can you believe when I was in primary school, they were shoving down this Kanji Dan in my mouth, telling me about Kanji Dan, Kanji Dan. I have no clue what the hell is Kanji. And today, there we go. But nobody was telling me about Aburi. Nobody was telling me about the killings in Kanu airport. Nobody was telling me everything about us. But today, it has been laid bare in the open, and we know who we are. And of course, we must restore Biafra. All right, that has been Constructive Argument on Radio Biafra with Mazi IKechukwu Onnuoha. Of course, led and read by Dr. Justice Ukachi Lois.
This is Constructive Argument on Radio Biafra with Mazi IKechukwu Onnuoha. Bring your argument, and we've got the solution. Constructive Argument. We hit below the belt. Radio Biafra. We've got you covered.
All right, thank you very much, great Biafrans. And of course, this is where we are going to leave it tonight. It has been indeed an intriguing one. It has been a beautiful one indeed. And I thank our brother, Dr. Justice, for giving us this in-depth history. My goodness me, I've never heard it this good before. And of course, we are going to leave it here, and if God sparing us next week, we will be back again. And of course, I want to close with this. Wherever you see Oji, Alhaji, Oji Ozokalo, and his co-conspirators, treat them as a non-grata in Biafra land. They have been officially declared an enemy of Biafran people. So you know what to do. Do Oji Ozokalo and his co-conspirators, treat them as a non-grata in Biafra land. They have been officially declared an enemy of Biafran people. So you know what to do. Do
It's M. Josh on the beat.
It's time to break loose from the chains. It's time for our freedom. Africa. Cause we can never let them negotiate our freedom. No. Hundreds of years is gone. No Messiah came for the black man. Told us that Jesus died for us, but the black man still they suffer. The truth be said, Africa will rise at the right time, and the time we're waiting for is right now. No one can hold the truth for a long time. Oh no. So stay awake. The sun is risen from the east, and the Messiah you're waiting is right here, and no one is gonna try to stop that. I can hear a great call for justice. Freedom, let the sun rise. Freedom for Biafra. Freedom, free Nnamdi Kanu. Oh, song of salvation. Freedom, let Africa rise. Freedom for Biafra. Freedom, free Nnamdi Kanu. Free Nnamdi Kanu. Freedom for Biafra. Free Nnamdi Kanu. Freedom Africa. White man fighting for self-determination is celebrated. Black man seeking for self-determination is a separatist and a terrorist. Yeah. When they jail a black freedom fighter, they jailing African freedom. Don't I have rights to my self-determination? Is that a crime? Oh no. Don't I have rights to live? Don't I have rights ask myself, don't I have rights to speak? Can't I complain if I'm marginalized? There's genocide in the land that nobody even cared about. Even when I try to speak, my voice is muted every time. I'm like a slave in my land, I can't take it anymore. I hope the world is listening to my plight. I can hear a great call for justice. Freedom, let the sun rise. Freedom for Biafra. Freedom, free Nnamdi Kanu. Oh, the song of salvation. Freedom, let Africa rise. Freedom for Biafra. Freedom, free Nnamdi Kanu. Free Nnamdi Kanu. Freedom for Biafra. Free Nnamdi Kanu. Freedom Africa.
Jewish mix.
Japas then cause I know my roots. I know fit to lose the love for them. I'm unstoppable, my people unstoppable. We keep on moving forward. We keep on grinding, grinding. Oh, yeah. Freedom for my people. Freedom. Freedom for my nation. Freedom. Free Mazi IKechukwu. Freedom. Freedom for my people. Freedom. We have gone a long way. No going back. We are too big to fall. No. Nothing fit to stop us. My people demand freedom. Should be a crime to ask for your right. Ask for your right. I will take it, let me know. No. We know they do the same thing. We know they go the same way. We don't carry this same language for matter. Free me, make I do my thing. Freedom for my people. Freedom. Freedom for my nation. Freedom. Free Mazi IKechukwu. Freedom. Freedom for my people. Freedom. No. Yeah. We don't pay for the struggle. Yeah. So many people don't go there for the struggle. It's hard time to get our right. All we have for our freedom. We can never stop. Biafra is a spirit. Let me soon away the flood. Freedom for my people. Freedom. Freedom for my nation. Freedom. Free Mazi IKechukwu. Freedom. Freedom for my people. Freedom.
My people, listen. I am that I am. I will bless whoever blessed you, and I will curse whoever cursed you. War against the kingdom of darkness that stands against God's people of Biafra. The more you try to stop us in this united movement, the more we unite with more great people and more real brave people keep multiplying up. Revolutionary blast the Babylonians, for the Biafrans came from Israelite. Tell us how this Ababa came from. Destroy the invention. Make sure you destroy every being that stand as destruction obstruction. Damn the demon incarnate hiding under the umbrella of American and British world power. The blasphemous. Babylonian surprised how we survived the strike of 1967. Bomb bullet the project. It's hardcore Biafran striving for heaven with psychological object. You can't stop the revolutionary strive to meet your life from generation to generation just to fly. But we bring you down with the Biafran necktie. Testify, bonify, 45 Biafra rose with the tools to blow. We've been on perspective point consuming so many history books. As the years took for us to trace the truth to the roots, they used to roost the home of the brave. Cause we were blinded with white men lies they imposed on our region. We were civilized with the Jewish religion before the white men disease came to black gold kingdom. With their demons they chain our freedom. We took fortitude for all the pains we passed through. The era of slavery to date bondage. General HAUSA-SERVICE, greatest in charge of all time, retired but never get tired of the struggle he took. Prophet Nnamdi is anointed with the struggle. More nothing to lose. Let the era of IPO be burned till they're all gone to see them no more. Back in the days when I was blind like you, struggling for better days hope. Used to hide from cops to smoke in the cemetery with my infantry friend dying conspiracy insurgency. Now time is necessary to pray with my brethren in the territory. For the nation of Biafra must be restored. For our enemies don't deserve the love. For so many scores execute raw. The holy language Ishmael lineage understood is shedding of blood. Soon the angels saw a way to descend on Babylonia. And the arena of bastard saboteurs trying to be heroes, but they're going down zeros. IPO became with unused skills, broke the code on the globe like virus on control. You don't even know. We spoke and poke out your indigenous people already say no to ethanol and tobacco. White men blood. Our soul have reconciled with our God for the Biafran exodus. For IPOB don't go for illegal money when their brothers' eye closed like those hanging out late night like ghosts with useless hope waiting for brown envelope to kiss your brother's souls. Like when the Biafran fighting Cold War, white Britain shipping Biafran black gold. Or Juanes and but mine is dynamic. You will never know who love you the most, and that's why many made wrong choice when presenting them roles. We are untouchable, unstoppable, unseparable folks. We must cross to our promised land of blessing and riches. You can die, rest in pieces, you snitches. Saved by the indigenous witches, for we got a key. Time has come that the land soil will reject you all and your dead bodies. We believe on nobody but Tetragrammaton. For this is the end of Islamic Zoological Republic of Nigeria. It's become the throne of demons since the amalgamation. All the families have soldiered up on the Papa Green land, on Black Boot and Touche. Don't use skills, soldier up, ever ready to go. For they've wake up dead people from sleep of no return till we get it done. Like a revenge of America of September 11, when God of Israel had a departed soul petition from heaven. So shall he digest it through the hardcore Biafran squad.
The way they treat us like a stranger in a fatherland. In a good day, calling on the global world. The way they treat us like a stranger in a fatherland. In a good day, calling on the global world. Make way for Biafra.
We suffer multicultural slavery, full ownership to the new world. Britain came in, the game changed, more horrible. Introducing Biafra to ethanol, alcohol, damaged by the system, and tobacco, nicotine causing cancer. Biafra nation was established by Lord Afra, 8500 BC. And Britain came in, destroy our ecosystem king. Lord Lugard for kill our fathers to amalgamate us with Nigeria contraction to be Muslim since 1914. 1929, killing of about women riot. For so long they have been killing Biafrans till date. Britain brought MSTs to deceive. All they done for us don't to trace our origin back. They don't give a fuck about our hurt, rather value Biafran world. Don't bomb babies were beheaded, lynched in the street, set ablaze in their homes. Children taken from school and executed with impunity. And guests were taken from their schools to leprosy. And other people with other diseases keep raping them. Beheaded pregnant women were chipped to death, and their unborn babies taken out of their stomach and killed as well. Men and children of all ages masses were thrown into the well of less bread, steady screaming, crying for help, but the rest of the world act deaf. The British and Nigerian government feel up dead to afford food with heavy stones. Some were forced to eat feces and drink urine with no hope. They bombed civilians in the hospitals, markets, churches, and at their homes. Biafra homeland became a rain of skulls and bones. The ever worst war crime in the whole world after the Jewish Holocaust. Still, the blood wasn't enough for the police warmongers. British sent troops with warplane mortars, grenades, executing innocent blood of Ayakarom in brutal council. Currently, 4 weeks Buhari inaugurated. He used helicopter and napalm bomb Akwa Ibom coast using AK-47 war guns, shooting Calabar people in the night. All Nigerian armed forces execute IPOB in Aba, in Oiwacha, in Onitsha, main bridge in Nkpo. Abakaliki, Dorman land never be exceptional. They harass and execute many communities in Enugu. 30th May Memorial Day of Fallen Heroes, turn bloody. They broke into the churches with no respect to God. Start arresting, executing people, raping Biafra women. Using Boko Haram trained by Saudi Arabia among their 84 terrorist group, and America did nothing at all. So many unforgiven sin till thy kingdom come. We will never forget this till thy kingdom come. For the properties the states giving us 20 pounds after warfare. For the welfare of our world, they ripped in pieces, sending us to open new market in the forest with 20 pounds. Now you call it Alaba International Market. An updated Britain who were past and present against Biafra succeeded. Now fought and gotten India succeed from European Union. American state who support freedom of speech only on the lips to black people. Biafran came looking for freedom. We realized American Britain kingdom are ruled by incarnates of demons. No surprise American give the logic to those behind the scopic who make the mechanic blood execution of skulls of 1967 unique people. I know many won't understand it, like magic from aquatic. Take and listen to one of my speech brethren, or make it so fair. Stop corporate news lying to you and your children. Do you ever thought how Islam came into existence? Do you ever thought how Islam came into the place you are living? Do your memory ever reconnect to how your grandfather's religion was raised? They execute many black skulls before imposing Islam into African region. Out of fear, many souls were submissive to Islam religion. So many souls Muslim rule. Got people real fool about it, referring your system Islam religion. It's ever lied told before that Islam is a peaceful religion. This is a paradox they use to cripple talking and to see Africa as a land of monkey to mockery. My papa told me Biafran story, so shall I tell my unborn kids about the worry. Watching Biafra documentary issue, reminiscing tears as the years stoop. Ever gone, it's over if you don't believe worship Tetra Grammaton. You don't deserve to sleep with Biafra Kakadonis. For the Biafran till we're gone. Look how you treating my people, it's too bad. Why you really acting like you too late? Look how you treating my people, it's too bad. Why you really acting like you too late? Look how you treating my people, it's too bad. Why you really acting like you too late? Look how you treating my people, it's too bad. Why you really acting like you too late?
The way they treat us like a stranger in a fatherland. Hey, no good day. Calling on the global world. The way they treat us like a stranger in a fatherland. Hey, no good day. Calling on the global world. Make way for Biafra.
I know I can speak like you all, but you all understand me well. For the black people hemisphere, you talk in the red, and you sleep comfortable on bed. Soon the reward of death will visit you all from hell. For the petition of people you sent to the grave, half answered by God of the braves. Caught you all of a worry bird memory of imperialism, slaveryism, colonialism, religion, terrorism. Ever since the end of Biafran defense war, agreement was made, no victor, no vanquish. Promises was made for Nigerians to build infrastructure and rehabilitation for Biafrans. But when Biafran came for pledge redemption, Nigerian government gone. This picture is never wrong. They don't want us to live on. They thought all the hard cores are dead gone, but they get it wrong. Nnamdi Kanu overthrown the white and black man dragon with 50 million resurrected hardcore Biafrans with machine guns. Testify ready to die even they keep the bullet fly. For we are born, raised in the bomb area, condemned by the Catholic Church. We understood the mystery behind such, but to rather unite IPOB remain much for our souls sold not for gold. For so long constantly searching searching for knowledge from a distance. Instantly wisdom was there before civilization came into existence. You can reason up the circumstance why Biafran from ages always stand famed for resistance. Through our system of transistence persistence. Even though most of us locked up in the cage like Roman Empire did to us before technology came to mankind knowledge. The Roman Empire under Illuminati one goal, stole God religion and painted it illusional. Made people wallowing in the bloody satanic ocean of fire. So much unwaste damages to date. Nobody give a fuck about protecting my race. So I hold on with AK on the revolution face to bring down the disgrace. For we gone to school to be nobody's slave. They want us to keep living dark life. Look around, poor healthcare, no warfare, always warfare against us and hemisphere. What unfair, people get disappeared, and the mouthpiece of the sea are living in fear. The rest acting deaf ear on our bloody tears. And politicians dress us each time they execute our blood with euphemism speech. They have sunk our organic hemisphere with the human blood and destroy our aquatic species with chemicals entitled with aftermath of getting cancer. And our chieftains and elders are blind, telling us to listen to the saga. Conspiracy going on and laid by the inventories. They infiltrate for us to go for war instantly, with none of the children serving in infantry. Religious war is the reason primarily. African territory has become cemetery for terrorism. We are Muslims executing innocent Christians and Jewish mercilessly. And American power did nothing to Saudi Arabia of sponsoring and supporting 84 terrorist group in the era of 21st century. Only sanctioning Russia for Western power to get easy access to all and beyond former USSR geographical territory under their control watch. But we bring the truth out to our people who are still blind of the search, like during the expository essay of the Holocaust of the Jewish. And if you stand in my way of getting freedom through, my tools will blast you so hard it will get next bastard beautiful next to use tiny screw. And I salute on my loyal black boot to my Biafran revolution crew, standing with my symbolic flag. We Biafran build America. Now people who doesn't know how the basic foundation of United States of America, they migrated from different parts of universal base, enjoying our labor and our sweat faces. And origin people who build Americans still suffering today. Only option left for us is death. But I promise my Biafran pillars to deliver no shiver till they stop calling us niggas. Look how you treating my people, it's too bad. Why you really acting like you too late? Look how you treating my people, it's too bad. Why you really acting like you too late? Look how you treating my people, it's too bad. Why you really acting like you too late? Look how you treating my people, it's too bad. Why you really acting like you too late?
The way they treat us like a stranger in a fatherland. Hey, no good day. Calling on the global world. The way they treat us like a stranger in a fatherland. Hey, no good day. Calling on the global world. Make way for Biafra.
Biafra's struggle can never be unrewarded struggle. Remember, after rain, there comes sunshine. I remember for every dark night, there is a bright day after that. So it's afternoon now, but I say good morning to my Biafrans. The sun has risen and shining where there is no light, and that's the symbolic meaning of the sun appearance in the Biafran flag. Do remember, danger is real, but fear is the choice. But don't be victim of kingdom that will never last your freedom. Receive Western education just to know the basics. No mortal can change the past, and no mortal can make the future. You are just an instrument to be used by the universal king. Remember, just like you have the power to manufacture and control minimum and maximum seconds under your wristwatch. There is someone above your origin, creates and has dominion over you and your strange functional and sectional object you made. So life never comes by chance, it goes to you, a taste. So remain resolute, because when comes confusion, reality becomes illusion. Letter to my Biafrans. The best African revolution ever strategized is the Biafran one of the world top first-class revolution ever exemplified in the history of mankind, ever known to extend the man. Politics and corruption on the hip-hop industry silent my speech, but Biafra brought back my voice to strike and project on the psychological object. So why trying to blame us? So many lies was told to our brothers and sisters that were sold out to slavery. But I'm here to delegate the truth at the time. We did not land on the white man Plymouth land, but white men landed on black people Plymouth land. So what I'm saying is, we on our own when the white man disease came into our existence, used and ruined so many souls of the black people. But Biafrans are here one more time to restore the real nomenclature of the real mechanism or framework of the true worship of Yahweh, on this revolution project with no mind to accept evolution anymore. This is not voluntary, but it's mandatory only if you realize who you are and what you are as human being. I think no need to tell the rest of the world that we are blessed with the best. So I have sacrificed my life, Biafra or dead. Biafra! One! Fuck all y'all! It's time to go home, brothers and sisters. Biafra, Kakadoni, signing out.
That they will come for you. You see, let me tell you one thing that people don't know because you don't know history. I forgive some of you because in your schools in the zoo they don't teach you anything. I want some people to actually go and sit down and study the history of Islam. Islam is the only religion that has never stopped growing. Islam is the only religion that has never stopped expanding through militancy and war. Others have stopped. Only Islam. Christianity is based on convincing people, telling them about the message of hope and restoration of Yahweh Yeshua. Of course, immensely corrupted. That we know for sure. But Islam believes in expanding through war, and that war is coming. Now, I must be put on record, and we can play it all the time for our people to also understand and listen very carefully. And I will say it tonight. And if you come to me in the future, I'll refer you to the broadcast of the 8th of June 2015. And that I made this very comment I'm about to make now at precisely 10 minutes to 8 p.m. in the evening. If ISIS comes down into the zoo, of course they are part of Boko Haram anyway. If they not if they, because they have forged an alliance already. If they launch any attack with the name of ISIS on the zoo soil, if you come to us to give us weapons, I will decline it. I will allow them to kill all of you before we mount any counter-offensive. Let me tell you one thing that you don't understand. Some of you claim you went to school, but you didn't go to school. Because if you went to school, you will understand how Islam works. Islam is coming for you. They must come for you. It's a M-U-S-T, must. There is nothing anybody can do about it. Only you can defend yourselves. This headline here is a confirmation if you need one. I think Abubakar said it yesterday. Today is being confirmed that ISIS is coming. Not just Boko Haram, but the real bad people that are coming. They need access to the oil, and they will get it to secure their financial base for their continued expansion within the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. The zoo is seen as pivotal, and Biafra land is where the resources that they're looking for is lying in. They don't trust Buhari anymore. Buhari was their godfather, they no longer trust him. I mean Boko Haram in this instance. Buhari they thought would give them Sharia immediately. Buhari saying I don't belong to anybody. From that day they intensified their bombing. Some of you cannot reason, you cannot see very well because you're blind. But at least you're lucky. You are listening to Radio Biafra. Very, very lucky indeed. I'm telling you the truth. Or else I can in your blindness. It is that darkness we've come to shed light on that you can see properly. If they enter the zoo, I will not command this army. And I need guns and I have the men. I need guns and I need bullets. That's all we need. And then we win. I have been sounding this warning. I've been telling you, you think we are joking. They are coming. Your mothers will be raped. Your sisters will be married off as slaves. I'm telling you that now. Right as I speak, write it down. Biafra land will be decimated. Unless we equip this army to defend us. If we don't equip our army to defend us, in other words, if we don't march this year, it will be very, very difficult for us to recover. Forget all this nonsense. All these so-called pro-Biafra groups you're saying, HAUSA brought them out to confuse you. HAUSA brought them out. That is why they cannot say what we are saying or do what we're capable of doing. These are HAUSA groups and you are not listening. You are not listening. Because the devil has gone into all these idols that you worship. The devil has gone inside you to harden your heart, to blind your eyes that you can no longer see. That day I will tell you to remember the broadcast of the 8th of June 2015. I will tell you to go back to it. I need guns and I need weapons. If I don't have guns and bullets, the army of Biafra cannot defend your towns and villages. The sooner you get that into your thick skull, the better for everybody. You are black people, you don't reason, I know that for sure. But the sooner you take this very message seriously, the better for everybody. Or else you're finished. ISIS is coming. They will enter the zoo and Chad very, very shortly. Not as Boko Haram, they are coming in as their franchise and as their name dictates. ISIS is coming. If you like, you make haste while the sun is shining, or if you like, you can continue to be dumb and stupid. That is entirely up to you. I won't be there, but you'll be dead anyway. And Radio Biafra will not report it, and nobody will. If you like, you give us guns. If you like, you don't. We are trying to save you, not you saving us. We continue.
July massacre and the May massacre, which, as you know, was therefore pushing us towards a scenario where if you're outside eastern region of Nigeria, you're not safe as an Igbo person, or you're not safe if you're an Eastern. In Lagos, the first person they killed was someone who looked like an Igbo person. It's Captain Ekenem on Carter Bridge. They just looked at him and said, "You look Igbo." They killed him. He's from Calabar. Okay? In Yoruba land, in Abeokuta, in Ibadan, in Lagos, nowhere was safe for the Igbo person. In Lagos, they go from door to door, they knock on your door and they said, "Toro." If you say Toro like the Igbo person, they realize they're Igbo and they killed you. Some of the houses were dubbed Soul Brother, so you know which one belongs to the Yoruba, which one belongs to the Igbo. So the Igbos have to leave Lagos. If you give the account of those who are famous like Chinua Achebe, he has to make his way and escape from Lagos. Okay? So they were after them. So nowhere, therefore, was safe for an Igbo person. So they decided to have a conference. This happened in July. And come September, the conference was going on. And this was going on, they had more killings in the north. The killing was such that Gowon himself had to appeal and ask them, for God's sake, stop killing. That's enough now. Yeah, they carried on killing. And the type of killing is not just, they killed you with impunity. They have all sorts of methods of killing people. People were buried in whales. They just dumped them inside the well and sealed the well. Pregnant women had their womb ripped up and the children killed. The women were rounded up from, if you like, nursing colonies, from nursing schools, and sent to leper colonies to be gang raped by lepers. There's no atrocity in visit on the people of Eastern region. And so, as a result, they all gathered to the Eastern region, those who escaped. And the account is all in this booklet I'm talking to you about, the Tribunal of Justice, and it's worth people to read it and understand the background to why the Biafrans, that was declared a year later, said that they couldn't be safe anywhere in Nigeria. Okay, so because I don't know if you want me to pause regarding the killings, or whether you want me to clarify and answer some more questions.
All right, Mazi, I think it's up to you how you want to do it. I mean, for us, we are just listening and learning, of course, with our history. So you go ahead and do it. And of course, if you can start summarizing for today, unfortunately, time is always an issue. In the next 10 minutes, see if you can summarize. And then next week, we come back with another part 3. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So therefore, people were returning from the north. Those who escaped with all sorts of wounds. Remember, some of them were permanently wounded and injured. Some were maimed for life. some came back with some pieces of their body. A mother will have a basket as she was running, and the only thing inside that basket is the severed head of her daughter. After plaiting the head, they just chopped the head off, and the mother carried the baby and put it inside the basket and ran. When the train stopped at a place like Makurdi, the bodies were dumped in the Benue River. There was somebody, 6'2" person, I forgot his name, who was beheaded, and abdomen ripped open and his intestine gushing out, and they put his body back in the train. So when he arrived in Eni, he was supposed to scare the Igbos. And the other thing that Ojukwu in December, around the Christmas time, where all these goings on, I read somewhere that they put a box, send him a box of presents from the north. And when they opened it, there was the head of an Igbo person. And they're supposed to scare him. His name is Ondimegu. How do you scare somebody whose name is Fair? So they made a wrong judgment, thinking that Ojukwu is going to capitulate. So this is why the Igbos, if you like, and Easterners came together and said, this cannot go on forever. You can't kill us in 45, kill us in 53, kill us in 1966, May, July, September, October, all the way to December. And they want us to be in one country. So Ojukwu was told, what's this thing about Aburi? We want to go to Aburi to talk to what? About what? We can't trust these people. So Ojukwu said, we have to take one extra step. So he was persuaded to go to Aburi to say, how are we going to live with people? We can't go to Lagos, we're not safe. We can't go to the north, we're not safe. Even where we are, we're not safe. Okay? So what do we do? Well, Jojo is better than war. It's always good to talk. So they went to Ghana, and luckily for them, it was Ankara, who's the Ghana head of state, who invited them, and a place called Aburi, where they sat down and mapped out how is it possible to live together again in one country, where one section is being killed with impunity. So Ojukwu told them, and they all agreed. The first thing is to renounce the use of force to solve the problems. As gentlemen, they're not going to use force anymore. They agreed. They said, okay, how about what we do with the military? Those from the east, they return to the east. Those in the west go to the west. Those in the north go back to the west, to the north. Okay, so in other words, you have your military come to where you are from, your place of origin. How about police force? You have areas of command. In other words, we need to have separate components of these security forces to guarantee some form of security. You need to pull apart slightly, remain in one country, so that when things are cooled down, we can then come back together. Everyone agreed. It's a great idea. Yeah. So, well, why don't we sign the forms? They signed the form. General Ankara said yes. Are you guys happy with this? Said yes. Ankara was so happy. I'm so happy with you guys. Well done. We solved this African problem and so on. Well, you just have to carry on as brothers. So they came home. Aburi was conducting a cordial arrangement. Everybody was happy. Then Gowon was supposed to announce the findings. Remember, the Supreme Commander was still missing. Aguirre was still missing. They had to announce that he has died, and therefore we're now going to make Gowon the Supreme Commander. Okay, because up until then, he's not the Supreme Commander, because he took power from the Supreme Commander, and he hasn't consulted the rest of the military. Okay, so now he wasn't any more superior in rank than what's his name, Robert Adenka, who is the Western governor. Neither is he more superior militarily than Ojukwu, but he assumed power because the people behind him have got the guns. So after Aburi, it was decided that Gowon could be the supreme commander. Okay? But everybody, if you have a decision, we all have to agree to that decision before we go ahead with it. In other words, you have to have it in concurrence. Everyone has to agree. But Gowon then said, no. According to the people advising him, his permanent secretary, I say, well, we know you signed this, but it's going to cause Nigeria to divide. We're not going to agree to it. So you have to change your mind. And we say the British might have been also inspired to not to allow him to sign this, to carry out what they agreed to. So as a result, there's a retraction. He started going back on his word. Unknown to him, though, known to him, fully aware that the Aburi Accord was recorded on a gramophone. So it's not a case of you said, I said, or he said. There's evidence of what was actually discussed.
So, Mazi, what you are telling me is that Aburi Accord was recorded. Is that right?
Yes, it was recorded in gramophone.
So tell me, how do we explain this man, this old, dying, lying man, go on? Till today, he is still saying Ojukwu is twisting the truth. That was not what we agreed in Aburi, even though it was recorded.
Yes, one day we will get the Aburi and play it. So that's what was played in the eastern region. Yeah, this is what happened in Aburi. We all listened to it. And the T-shirts came out. On Aburi, we stand. Okay? We are not going to budge on Aburi. Okay? So they all knew what happened. So because they had the superior weapons, all the military, everything was in the north. So they thought, well, if Ojukwu disobey, we declare a state of emergency, we invade the east, and it would take about 72 hours, and that would be it. And that is what happened. So Aburi, they negated on it, including paying those who abandoned their jobs. If you're working for the government in the north, let's say you work in the railway, you haven't been paid since May. You ran away, and no one's paying you. No one paying your school fees for your children. There's no means of livelihood. The eastern region was supposed to support all these 2 million ex-influx. So there comes a time when you say, well, what are you going to do about all this? Part of the Aburi agreement was to help pay towards them. Gowon reneged. Ojukwu said, okay, from April 1967, we're going to collect tax in the east. And the money we collect in the east, we're going to use it to rehabilitate those refugees. And we're going to keep the money. Gowon said, you can't do that. If you do that, we will blockade you. So Ojukwu went ahead with the survival edict, which is what he propagated. And Gowon said, I'm going to impose a blockade. So you sealed off, so you can't trade from the east. As a result, you can see was a journey of no return. You can't go back to Nigeria, they'll kill you. You can't stay as you are, they blockade you. You declare yourself a different country. And that was what happened. So Ojukwu called all the experts to come and sit down and discuss what our options are. Do we stay in Nigeria or do we leave Nigeria? They voted with their feet. Means there was a unanimous decision that was had enough of all these duplicitous people who want to kill us, take our resources, and leave us to die. So they said, please, Ojukwu, at the earliest practical date, we are not asking you, we are mandating you, declare Eastern Region a sovereign nation by the name Republic of Biafra. Before the ink could dry on that day's conference, Gowon decided to divide the country and carve the East into different sections, River State, Ogoja State, East Central State, and reduce it into a dot. Okay, this is where it all started. So if you carve up the country, you didn't ask your permission, nobody knew where the boundary was, you just declare that area is now East Central State, River State, and Ogoja State, and then you declare a state of emergency. And you're going to take over the whole area.
All right, Mazi,
so that is why the people fought.
Mazi, as we are about to summarize, I want to ask you this question. Let's put this record straight. So basically, what I'm getting to understand, or what you're telling me, is that the reason why Gowon divided the state is to confuse and create hatred among us, because it's working. If you ask me, it is working. You should hear where an Imo State man is talking to an Anambra, and where an Anambra person is talking to an Imo. You will never know that they speak the same language, because that was the whole idea of divide and rule. Can you summarize on that note? And then, of course, next week we'll continue. Go ahead, please.
Yes. The idea of dividing the Eastern region is to weaken the Eastern region as a unit. Okay? You try to weaken them by dividing into along ethnic lines. The only problem with that is that you don't know where the boundaries are. Because Port Harcourt, for example, used to be an Owerri province. The Igbos, if you like, and their brothers developed Port Harcourt. If you now excise Port Harcourt away from Igbo as a territory, you're asking for trouble, because these are the people who built Port Harcourt. So it's a deliberate ploy to sow seed of discord among the Eastern region. The people from Ogoni, Ejo, Ogoja, they were all involved in the declaration of Biafra. They turned up in the elders' meeting, consultative assembly, Eastern region. And it was a unanimous decision to pull away from Nigeria, because they've had enough at that stage. Nigeria cannot guarantee they're not going to kill you. Okay? So you have no choice but to be your own. And the whole Biafra was the shield. Ojukwu said, if you can cross this line from the north, he won't go up to the north to bring you back, but if you can cross this line and come to the Eastern region, then you are safe. He will do everything he can to protect you. And that is how Biafra came to be. So on the 30th of May, Ojukwu declared Biafra, the Eastern region, as a sovereign state. Remember, the killing started in May 66. We're talking a whole year of deliberation before Biafra was declared as a sovereign state. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mazi. You know, when it comes to the end of this program, I feel it continues again. To be honest with you, I was born after the war. And whenever I hear this history, oh my goodness me, I sit and I want to listen and learn. Mazi, please, you're not going to let me down now. Next week is yet another Date with Destiny. It is part 3 of Biafran history. Thank you very much, Mazi. We appreciate you.
Thank you.